Hello and welcome. The burning question, studiously avoided by you-know-who, is precisely who's accountable for the pandemic pantomime of the COVID-19 hoax. It's widely recognised that a Luciferian satanic cult is at the core, but who are the government bureaucrats and political decision makers responsible for the incalculable harm inflicted upon so many by so few? Moreover, this unprecedented catastrophic damage has been perpetrated for no authentic or compelling reason. At the outset of this diabolical scam, entire populations were unlawfully confined inside homes via medical martial law imposed under demonstrably false pretenses. Entire nations were coerced into wearing oxygen-limiting, ritually humiliating medical face masks. They were forced to keep children out of school, close down what was arbitrarily deemed unnecessary businesses, while multinational enterprises didn't miss a beat, of course, and only venture outside to purchase essential groceries. This monstrous assault on society sprang from the hopelessly outdated and egregiously erroneous mathematical modelling of Imperial College's epidemiological scientist, Professor Neil Ferguson, hysterically predicting millions were about to die of an intangibly looming threat. This invisible and scientifically unidentified pandemic threat was so manically reported, and it was deemed to be so perilous it necessitated the urgent crushing of fundamental freedoms along with all civil and human rights, while triggering the controlled demolition of the global economy. As micromanaged chaos unfolded, frenetic media fear porn incentivized massive insider trading, generating trillions of dollars in illegal profiteering, a monumental crime which of course is carefully obfuscated by mainstream media. Meanwhile, freedom of assembly was stomped into oblivion, with innocent people heavily fined for visiting beaches, relaxing in parks, going surfing, boating or taking nature walks, thereby conveniently prohibiting protest gatherings opposing criminally enforced and totally unnecessary lockdown. All this subjugation was to protect from an alleged virus with a survival rate of 99%. Remember, all this oppressive tyranny is based on zero evidence. There wasn't even enough medical science to hypothecate the slightest chance of a pandemic. The virus is real, but no evidence justifying a pandemic existed then, it doesn't exist now, and it never will exist in the same manner as the phantom weapons of mass destruction used to inflict the war crimes of invasion and occupation of sovereign nations never existed. Nevertheless, freedom of speech continues to endure the worst censorship of all time, bolstered by mainstream media misinformation and fear-mongering propaganda. Rogue government thuggery, riding on the tsunami of mainstream media-driven fear porn, has propelled hitherto thriving businesses headlong into government-contrived bankruptcy. Unprecedented job losses cruelly prevents millions from providing for their families, while repeat aftershocks of punitive economic repercussions continue inflicting irreparable runaway damage. Gestapo police roadblocks featuring uniformed armed thugs demanding papers, please, arbitrarily and unlawfully prohibited freedom to travel, while the Stasi mass surveillance apparatus of contact tracing is aggressively coerced upon the wider community, despite the fact that no evidence exists to justify the deceitful snooping. So what happened with the projected casualty predictions? Well, they couldn't have been more wrong if they tried, and the possibility of deliberate miscalculation cannot be discounted. Actual deaths mostly resulted from pre-existing comorbidities, yet COVID-19 is criminally falsified and routinely recorded as the cause of death in order to uphold the scam. Recently, President Bolsonaro of Brazil ordered the military to raid a suspect hospital falsifying runaway COVID-19 death records, only to discover it was completely empty and there were funerals interning masses of empty coffins. At the time of this report, the death rate remains less than 0.05%, plus 80% are not even susceptible to this infection. But in spite of these salient facts, entirely unjustified restrictions remain in place. No medical science exists to warrant one-way entrance and exits to shops or the utterly moronic and sinisterly anti-human social distancing. From Australia's population of 24.99 million, just over 100 persons are alleged to have died of COVID-19. But considering the rampant medical fraud of falsifying death certificates, even this insignificant statistic is probably exaggerated. Following this, a new and different attack front broke out when they took their psychological, political and spiritual war to a whole new level by provoking race riots via what was most likely another false flag event. I've reported on this in a previous video titled Race Baiting, so I won't elaborate further here, but I do need to cover another aspect of the virus issue wherein reliable sources claim we're all seeded with nanobot smart dust from decades of chemtrail spray that plays a significant part in this ongoing genocide. My thus far limited understanding indicates breathing this stuff in facilitates testing positive to whatever satanic controllers decide. Plus it has wider-ranging nefarious capacity besides. Already we know COVID test kits are criminally compromised, but the smart dust aspect takes it to a deeply sinister and alarmingly far-reaching level. More information can be found on Secret Harbour Sessions website blog in an uploaded video post from Charles Ward, and is definitely worth investigating. Moreover, it's just one more compelling confirmation of exactly what I've been reporting from day one. This criminal debacle has nothing whatsoever to do with protecting public health, but rather is designed to enforce the global tyrannical oppression of a Luciferian technocracy. To close on a more hopeful note, plausible reports suggest this deep state agenda has been ingeniously reversed by the White Hats. But at this stage, I lack sufficiently dependable material to cover that issue, but I will get to it once the situation clarifies. Meantime, thank you for watching.